This is Total War, Warhammer 2. We are playing the Dark Elves. I'm kind of moving about the map here. And as we were moving about and looking at things, the first thing that you're going to notice is, hey, there's a bunch of different settlements, and there's some lords and army units. And if you've never played a Total War game, it's a combination of, I don't know, what'd you say, like Civilization and RTS?
It's kind of like Civ Light matched up with the Total War games are technically real-time strategy, but they move so slow.
It's a very deliberate. It's not like
It reminds me a lot of this is my first Total War game.
Or Warcraft or anything like that, right? I mean, probably closer
Your
to Warcraft
units,
3.
no, it's more like you have like giant columns of units that move really slowly, and you don't have too many abilities that you need to monitor. It's mostly a game about matching strength to weakness and positioning than how many units can I flood my opponent with. So there's a little bit more of a strategy, I guess, than micromanagement.
Yeah, and, I mean, and during battles, but we'll get into a battle here shortly too, just to kind of show some of that off. There's a lot you can slow down time some, so you can issue commands, and have better control over things, and certainly that makes a lot of sense. I mean, there it's interesting the way they have things like, hey, you have to really sort of take note of your cavalry units, right? Like they are intended absolutely to be almost shock troops for most armies, where they'll come in like, you get your grunts up there into the thick of things, and then your cavalry come in from the sides and just sweep through the enemy ranks, but you don't want them to actually get embroiled in the combat, so you have to make sure that after they go and they have their initial charge and hit, you move them back out again so they can make another sweeping attack, kind of a thing. Position your archers and your ranged troops behind your front lines, position your faster units over to the side so they can flank while your big armor units go up the middle, kind of a thing. There's a lot of those mechanics to it when you get into the fighting, and every single different army has different units that do those things and different specialties for what they have. We're playing as the Dark Elves here. The new armies for Total War Warhammer 2 are Dark Elves, High Elves, Skaven, and Lizardmen. And as we kind of get going, I'll talk a little bit more about the differences between them. If you did play the original Total War Warhammer and you own that, the nice thing is eventually all of this is going to get combined into one big thing. Supposedly, that's what the Creative Assembly said, is that this whole map that you can see here, which is the entirety of the campaign map in Total War Warhammer 2, which I'm just going to start saying Total Warhammer 2 because Mike and I were talking about before, and it sounds like you're stuttering or something. Total Warhammer 2, like, this is the entire campaign map that you have to go through, and there's factions all over this. Eventually, this apparently is going to get synced up with or linked up with the grand campaign map from the first one to make it just one big, huge campaign with all the different factions, which means not only do you have the 4 new ones here, but then you also have Wood Elves and Undead, Dwarves, Orcs, Empire, Bretonnians, Chaos, Nordlings, Norskas, whatever they call them, and I think that's it. No,
right.
Beastmen, that was the last one. So that'll be interesting to see too once they get there. The co-op features for this, what's a little bit different this time around, is I'm just gonna go ahead and do my turn because I don't have anything else to do for right now. You can actually play the entire campaign with a friend as the same faction. So, and the reason behind that I'll get into, but in the first game you could only do different factions. So, like for instance, Mike would play as dwarves and I would play as the undead, and then we just form an alliance and we'd play the game together.
I formed a defensive alliance with the blue-shielded folks to the west of you.
Okay. seems like a good move to make.
Populace in one of my settlements is gradually vanishing.
Uh-oh. Where's the
Negative growth for 3 turns.
You got a world event. So the linking up now of Mike is also playing as the Dark Elves because there's 2 different lords for every single army that you can pick when you're starting off. So he's playing as the other one, so he's playing as... What's your lady's name?
Her name is Morathi.
Of the Cult of Pleasure.
Yes. And I am going to look in on Tyrant Peak and see what's here.
So the reason for this sort of...
I captured it!
Nice! There weren't even Skaven in there? Oh, that's too bad.
Now, I can colonize or treasure hunt. Or do nothing.
I mean, I probably want to colonize. So the new feature that they have here is, in the story kind of that they have set up, is the Great Vortex, which is within this region of the world, is, you know, siphoning off chaos powers, and the High Elves are maintaining it. So each of the different factions now are trying to build up enough materials to perform these rituals, so that they can corrupt the vortex to their own power, you know, to their own wills or whatever. Or in the case of the High Elves, obviously, they want to maintain it for themselves and keep, you know, chaos at bay. So when you build up enough of resource materials, and every single faction has different resource materials, they all pretty much gain them the same way, though. There's just from your general structures and buildings. So up here in my group, I have Nagarond, and Nagarond provides me 1 scroll of Hecate every single turn, that being the special currency I need for those rituals. But you can kind of see that glowing scroll over to the northeast of my capital that another faction currently controls. And this is a ritual resource site, so if you build a building there, you get more ritual materials every turn. So you're all kind of competing. The main factions are all competing to perform those rituals before the other ones. And we probably won't get to a point where we actually perform one of those rituals here during the stream, but when you do, a few of your cities are marked as ritual sites, and you have to protect them from not only other factions, but also occasionally then chaos forces appear, and so you have to fight off the chaos forces. There is something that happens during the later rituals, which I won't spoil. It's kind of a cool thing that goes on, but that whole ritual thing is the reason why now you can't play as 2 different factions, it seems. Because, you know, you can't have 2 players form an alliance, and 1 player as the High Elves is trying to perform rituals, and 1 player as the Skaven is performing rituals, and yet both sides end up winning. Like, it just doesn't work. So as a result, you know, we're both the same army type. We get to, you know, kind of ally ourselves towards the not really the greater good, but the darker good. I don't know.
We need. It's a good idea for us to enslave as many of our enemies as possible.
Yeah, that's a special thing with the Dark Elves, is they have slaves that help increase your income, but also if you have too many of them in one area, they decrease your public order. And when public order goes bad, then you suddenly have to deal with uprisings, which are never any fun. Skaven have a food mechanic that's unique to them, where defeating enemies, they collect food. You can take that however you want to, but one of the options straight up when you defeat an army is, hey, send them back and you'll get, like, to one of your settlements and you get food. Diplomacy screen. Beastmen want to form a peace treaty. Nope. They say, good, now we're going to mess you up. And I say, nope, actually, I'm going to mess you up. So anyways, they have a special food mechanic that they can use, that they use for their units, or use for their armies, I should say. It drains off some resources from them every turn. But they also can use that food resource when they occupy a city to actually kickstart, or jumpstart its construction. So most of the time when you take over a city, you take it over at whatever level it's at, or a little bit lower, depending. They can actually say, all right, well, I'm going to spend X amount of food and make it now a level 4 city straight off the bat. Which is interesting, right? There's this kind of push-pull mechanic with their food supply where they have to have enough to maintain their public order and maintain their armies, but then they can also use it as this way to get cities going faster. And there's another part of that too, which is they also cause their own form of corruption, and some corruption within their areas are good, but too much of their own corruption in their own area causes public order to go down. So they kind of have this thing of get in, get what you need, and get out, which is a very different army mechanic, or overall faction mechanic than what you see in a lot of other factions, and particularly those from the first game. So that's kind of cool. Like they've built this sort of these mechanics around them. The disappeared. Uh-oh. Yep, same thing that you got, Mike. I have negative growth for 3 turns.
Mm-hmm.
For just one of my settlements. And these are random world events that just occasionally pop up. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad.
But they're always interesting.
You take it all, and there you have the facts of life. I can't remember how that goes now. Lizardmen are the most straightforward. From what I saw, there's no real special mechanic to them. They just have, when you have dinosaurs in your army, I don't know if you actually need anything special. This is the technology tree. This is, every faction has a different way that they do research and technology, but I've already got that researched. What do I want to do? Blackheart Corsairs, Shades and Dark Riders, Armor Piercing, Growth. Yeah, we'll actually increase our growth. Growth is a good thing. What? Imminent Rebellion. Oh, yeah, well.
Put it down!
That would make sense. All things considered. I got a lord there, fortunately, who can deal with that as soon as it pops up. Alright. I'll let that go. So, hey, there's that rebel. So anyway, so like I said, Lizardmen is straightforward. They got dinosaurs. That's cool. The high elves have something called influence that they gain, which can be used to basically improve. As a currency, you can use it to improve your relationship with other factions. So you can start trading with them, and they have this whole thing involved with trading. But you can also use it to recruit better lords. That was the kind of interesting thing as I was looking through. Normally when you recruit new lords, which are the special guys that lead your armies, so I can't click this guy over here, Tomalak or Malekith. Normally when you recruit them, now these lords have a loyalty. And the loyalty can go up or down. If it goes to 0, then they become a rebel army, and they have their own faction then that you have to deal with. And they take all their troops with them too, so another new mechanic that you kind of have to balance is your loyalty. For Dark Elves and Skaven, that is. But for the High Elves, so you can use the influence when you recruit new lords, and if you don't use any, it seems like the lords usually have negative attributes and negative traits to them. But if you do use the influence, then they have really good traits, and depending on how much influence that you spend, which is also very interesting to kind of see, it's the way that they do that. So, as a whole, these are the general summations of the different factions, and what you're doing from turn to turn, like on a big scale, is moving your armies around, capturing cities, expanding your territory, gathering resources, getting income, special ritual resources, so on and so forth. And on a micro scale then, from all that, is the real focus is doing enough of that to build up enough things to perform these rituals. And once we actually get into a situation where there's some combat here, we'll show it off a little bit more so you can see some of the positioning and stuff. I do have the chat panel open, so for anyone watching, if you've got questions about this and want to ask Mike or I any questions about Total Warhammer 2, feel free to do so. And the one thing I'll say about the co-op here, Mike is making selections, Mike's making choices for his units. I can see that it's his turn, and I can kind of talk to him about, like, you know, what his options may be. But I can't actually do much of anything, which is the one problem I have. Like, if you're going to do this where you're allies and you're, you know, working together and everything else, it'd be nice if, like, when Mike is like, hey, I got a question about, like, this lord's abilities, or, you know, what do you think I should do here? I have a way to kind of zoom in a little bit more than I do to kind of talk him through some of that. Alright, let me go deal with these rebels. So
why don't we show off a fight?
Yeah, we're going to actually get into it here. There is a auto-resolve option, obviously, but we're going to go through and actually fight this battle. And when you're playing cooperatively, your buddy also has a vote that they can make. In this case, what we're going to do is he's going to spectate initially, but then I'm going to give him direct control over some of my units, so you can actually play these battles cooperatively and kind of work together, which is really cool. Like that, that wasn't the case, I don't think, in the first game, because you did have like two separate armies that you were controlling, and, you know, two different factions and everything. So what I'm going to do is, let's see, I'm going to give you my Dread Spears. I'm going to give you some of those guys. I'm going to take control over these guys. Oops. And where's my group? There we go.
Did you give me, like, every other thing?
Kind of.
Huh. Okay.
I gave you basically my spearmen and half of my archers. So I'm going to move those guys there. And actually, ungroup, I'll do two groups of cavalry. So I'm going to put half my cavalry over there, and the other half is here. So before any battle starts, you have the option to deploy your forces and choose where they go.
So I'm going to do...
If I had Vanguard units, which are marked when you recruit them and everything, they have the option to be able to basically move anywhere outside of your deployment zone that is marked. So my deployment zone is this yellow circle, the red zone over there. Vanguard, I could move somewhere, in this other area and have them get set up like behind the enemy army, for instance.
I'm going to put them over here. Okay.
Ready?
Sure.
Alright, let's go. Alright, so I'm going to move. I got this big unit, massive group of guys. They're all just going to move forward. And I've got my archers here, which I want to get set up behind. I've got harpies coming in. And I've got my cavalry, which I'm going to put off to the side. I'm waiting for some bigger forces here. And I want to kind of pull some of these guys off to let them come in and flank from the side. Alright, so I am bringing my Dark Riders in to go swarm those archers so that I don't have to deal with them. And I am going to have my Lord, which has a ranged attack, shoot the other Lord and kind of target him. And I can see over here things are going pretty well. This enemy unit is fleeing, as is that enemy unit. Their archers have fled. Over here my guys are caught up in combat, and Mike's archers are over there shooting stuff, and his spears are going after guys as well. I'm getting real close here if we want and see what they're doing. Wow, fighting each other. Alright, so I got a unit here that's shattered and routed. They are completely just going to run off that field. They're going to keep going until they're all the way gone.
Uh-oh, these guys are terrorizing me.
We got some groups over here that looks like they're starting to rally back, so I am going to go and take my cavalry and give them what's for. And then I'm going to send some of my troops here to go attack the Lord while these guys finish off these guys. And I'm going to move my archery up because they ain't doing much of anything right now. I'll move my Lord up here too. So yeah, so there's a lot going on, right? Like at any one time, and you can zoom in and out and pan the camera around, look at the pretty landscape, get whatever kind of view you need to on this. Send my cavalry back this way. The one thing that the Dark Elves have is this murderous prowess. It's a special ability of a lot of the units in their army. So once your army kills a certain number of units, a lot of times there's a number of units that have the special ability, but basically they will be able to enter this frenzied state where they do more damage. They get a boost basically to their stats, which is kind of cool to see. You know, like you're here in the midst of battle and you're like, alright, keep killing stuff, alright, now you guys are gonna run in and mess everything up. Look at the dead bodies on the field. Look at those dead harpies. Some dead Dark Elves. Also dead Dark Elves. More dead harpies. We win. We're victorious. I could just be mean and stick around and have all my units continue to attack the Lord even though he's trying to run, but I'm going to end the battle. Ah, we are victorious.
Huzzah.
Huzzah. Huzzah! So that's kind of a small battle considering the enemy forces, and there wasn't a whole lot of complexity to the different units. There wasn't,
It's a decisive victory.
Here's, units that are intended to specifically, target large units, right? So there's things that are like anti-large, so they fight those kinds of things, or, you have monsters that go in and can't break or something. So using those special units requires you to know what they are, and that sort of almost kind of, not quite, but sort of rock, paper, scissors game to it. So I won. I chose to enslave them, which means I get more slaves for a territory, which means, again, I can get more income. He ran off a little bit. I'm going to pursue so I can just finish them off all together. This one I'll just choose to auto-resolve.
Death!
Whoa! He's all together gone. I'm going to choose to murder the captives and just increase experience for all of my units.
It's beautiful.
It is. He has gained some levels, so let's go in here and take a look. This is yeah. This was the screen I think Mike was like, "Oh, what have you got me into?" Because so there's a lot of different powers and abilities here. There is steeds that you get like once you reach a certain rank that you can unlock and equip. There is yellow, which typically represents boosts to the Lord, themselves. Red, which is boosting your units, and blue, which is campaign. So things that affect overall, like campaign movement, or you increase public order in the region that you're in. All your experiences get +1 for your recruits, and so on and so forth. So you kind of have to make some choices about, for this particular lord or whatever, what are they? Are they going to be someone that is, I really just care about them and what they do and their abilities? Do I want to do like a little bit of mixing and matching? I'm going to start off here with Inspiring Presence, and then I have another skill point, and I'm going to keep going down this. And one of the things that's generally good is boosting up, a lot of your units. So I'm going to choose... It's a bit early because I don't have any of these things unlocked just yet, but I'm going to say this guy's going to end up with a lot of cold ones. So we're just going to go ahead and start leveling that up so that by the time I can start recruiting those units, he'll be ready to go and he'll kind of be my cold one lord.
Tell you what, I could use a cold one right about now.
Crack open a cold one with the boys.
Crack open a cold one with my witch elves.
That's right. Over here...
You can also draw on your...
Yeah, that's a new feature too, where you can. They have red for just, hey, look over here and attack this thing, general and defensive. So you can use that to kind of, indicate to your
and certainly buddy. Not draw inappropriate things on your friend's map while they're not looking.
Never do that.
Never.
All right, so here's what I've got. I've got building options for Nagarond. I can build a whole new building. There is, I'm just going to bring this up. Here's your building browser that gives you the full breakdown of everything that you can build in this place. From infrastructure to advanced military to basic military. This thing gives me harpies, war hydras, and black dragons. I can see here what this gives me. This allows me to recruit death hags, which are hero units, and witch elves. I talked about, hey, this is, one of the things I want is my cold ones. Yeah. Which means I need to get one more rank into my city here. So it has to be level 4 before I can make a Dreadmance and then be able to get the cold ones. So in the meantime, since I can't build that, I'll leave one slot open so I can do that eventually. In the meantime, though, probably also want to get some other units here. So let's go with the Harpy Roost so that eventually I can get a War Hydra and a Black Dragon, because you always want to have a dragon on your side.
You could get Jeff Green.
That's... wow. Oof, that deep cut.
Maybe.
Deep cut.
Maybe.
I've got some upgrades I can do here. So one of the things is you grow your populace each turn, and when you hit a certain surplus, that allows you to further construct and build up your main settlements here. So I need a surplus of 4 in order to get this to that next level, which is what I need to start gaining the cold ones. I've currently got 2. It's going to be 6 turns at this rate until I get another point. So I could build up these other ones, or I could wait. I am going to choose to build them up so I can unlock some new cavalry, some new Dark Riders over in this particular settlement. So I'm going to go ahead and spend my surplus points there. And I can build up a few things here. So I have torture posts that increase my public order, that upgrade to fighting pits and then to an arena. My public order over here is almost at max, so I'm not going to worry about that right now. I can upgrade this, which gives me now access to additional units. That's always good. And this thing, not upgrading the harbor here, increases my income, and it also increases my growth, so I will get to a surplus point quicker. So I'm going to do that as well. That's kind of like it in a nutshell for like a typical turn. And you know, here I've got units I've got queued up that'll recruit next turn. But every single turn, that's sort of what you're managing, right? You're managing your armies, where they're moving, what they're attacking, what territories are taking over, and then you're also managing your cities and how, you know, what buildings you want to construct and how you want them to grow, what sort of units or, you know, other advances you want to make with those. There's, I'm sure, tons of strategies, different things that people have when it comes to all this, of saying, oh, you know, this is the best path for doing X, Y, Z. I typically play this game on easy difficulty just because I'm here more to enjoy the overall experience of playing, as opposed to give me a really tough strategy game. I also just kind of enjoy the aspects of, hey, I remember when I used to play against or play, you know, these armies on the tabletop game, and this is kind of like that, right? Like, I kind of have to flank enemies, and I have to position these columns of troops and where I want them to go, and that's kind of cool. Like, that's the one thing, like, those battles remind me the most of the tabletop experience. Mike's deep in negotiative.
Yeah, the guy immediately next to me wants a non-aggression pact.
Wants to parlay. Well, that's the one that you're going to go mess up. You're going to go say, hey, give me your stuff, and raid them.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Tell him no.
But he wants to give me money.
Okay, look, all I'm going to say is Hag Hall is one of their properties, and it's got a little leafy green over there.
Yeah. Decline.
Yeah, there you go.
Declined.
That's all I'm saying.
I've declined. I have rejected their offer.
Certainly negotiating with other, you know, places and making friends and allies is a definite part of this game for the NPCs. Like, you kind of need to do that early on in order to avoid getting overwhelmed. Later on, you can break those pacts. You can, you know, screw allies over. You can even kind of screw them over in more subtle ways, like if they get attacked by a stronger force, you can be like, oh yeah, hey, I'm totally coming to your aid, and then not show up, and so that they get wiped out. You can make a back deal kind of with whoever may be invading them and be like, hey, why don't you and I team up and we'll take them out together. The sort of negotiations and diplomacy things are kind of interesting way to approach a lot of this too, and seems to be a larger part of the High Elf game is managing those diplomatic relations.
I'm kind of in gotta gather some money phase right now, so I am going to end my turn. I've got a lord. Yeah, I got my second lord blocking off the pass at that second to my eastern border.
Yes.
I need to bring my main force back.
Yep, I got mine all ready to go, so I'm gonna go ahead and move them down so I can start expansion. Move them off that way.
Do not vex us further.
Ain't much I can do for right now. I need to... Public order here is still pretty bad. And there's going to probably be another revolt if I don't... yeah, 6 turns if I don't improve things. We'll get there. We'll get there. But for right now, all those constructions are still in the way that I did put into place last turn. Malekith being there should help some with the public order. And I can't remember if this guy does anything or not. Oh, let me inspect him. He's builder. He's got this, construction costs, and hero recruit rank for death hags. Ah, all the more reason I should get some death hags, right?
Right.
I can equip these. Alright, yeah, he ain't got anything else. Alright, that's it. Sometimes your turns can be very long, sometimes they can be very short.
Pretty much.
Oh, who's talking to me now? You want a non-aggression pack. You're all the way over there. I tell you what, for right now...
Why not?
Yeah. Yeah, you want me to give you 100, I don't care.
Hundo.
I'll give you a little bit there. I'll grift some palms here, right? Because basically what I want to start doing is developing trade routes. Like the Dark Elves, the other Dark Elf tribes, there's only a few that I really sort of want to take over more or less on my own because they have ritual sites that I want to get all those good ritual currencies. But for the most part, a lot of these I'm just like, hey, why don't you trade with me? Why don't we just, you know, why don't we all profit here? Give me some of your carved obsidian and I'll give you some of my furs or my marble. We can all earn a little money. It'll all be good. Until I say, you know what, I'm done. I'm going to take you over. And thus far, too, we are only seeing this northwest corner of things.
Yeah, seriously.
Like, down here, whoop, in the southeast, there's a bunch of stuff happening with Skaven and Lizardmen and High Elves. Can't see any of that, but it's all there.
I've got a lord that is losing loyalty because I'm not attacking things.
Go have her attack stuff.
Well, if I attack Hag Hall...
Go attack the Bleakhold Fortress. I think they're already, right? Aren't they already...
Yeah, but their strength rank is 32 to my 3. I'm not sure what that actually means.
Like their overall army? That's like usually like the overall army strength. But, I don't know. I mean...
Alright, well...
Go get them.
Let's... No time like the present, right?
Yeah.
Declare war!
Yeah. I'll back you up. Eventually. Once I get there.
Done it. Ah, glorious war! They're joined by nobody.
Yeah, they ain't got any friends.
Alright, let's see here.
Create chaos!
Oh boy.
Start sieging.
So how many siege weapons should I build?
I usually do 2 of each.
Hey, why?
Oh, and we just crashed.
And we're back?
And we're back. Sorry about that. Yeah. Game crashed on me. Tried to inspect the garrison to see what Mike was going up against, and the whole thing crashed. So unfortunately, it's kicked back to the autosave, which is a little ways back, but not that far. So I'm going to end my turn, let this go forward. Yep, I'm back here. Hey, you want to negotiate? Non-aggression? Sure, why not? Let's keep going. Zoom, zoom, zoom.
So if I siege an enemy that's vastly stronger than me, can they attack me, or do they have to withstand it?
They can attack you if they have a lord. So if there is a lord also in that city, the lord can come out and attack you. But
if there's a banner there, there's a lord there?
Yes.
Okay, maybe I should not siege them.
You should. They have to make
Not-
it like you can
Not
always
with
retreat.
the force I used. I have my big-ass force that I used to take the northwest.
Well, just okay. Here's what you do: declare war on them, move a little ways into their territory, and or and change to raiding stance, and just sit there and raid them, and you'll get income that way.
That sounds good.
You'll make them mad. The Lord might come out of the castle and come after you, but
But, that's okay.
you can deal with that.
Oh, it's my turn. Hello.
It is your turn. Yeah. Good news is I think we only lost a little bit there as far as turns and everything else.
Move, you maggots!
Move, you maggots!
I'm trespassing.
You are trespassing. This may have diplomatic repercussions.
Maybe,
Maybe.
but that's okay.
Dreadlord.
Are you getting income from that?
I am, a little bit.
Nice. Nice.
Okay, so I am good for... don't want to spend my money to upgrade a settlement just yet.
Oh, you need to spend a turn though with your folks and heal them. I forgot about that.
Well, I'm mustering my big force in my ancient city to regen units faster.
Yeah.
That's what I will be doing next turn.
When you colonize a settlement and take it over, you lose some of your forces.
It was like half my force.
Yeah. I just remember too, I wanted to move these folks down south to get that place. So I am going to march. I'm going to take you all and go check out Shrocktack Mount.
Yeah, the territory I'm in actually doesn't... Like, the stuff to my west, everything is inhospitable to
It's
this race.
interesting. That's another thing that they've added is this climates that affect, your city and how well it prospers and how long it takes for things to build and replenishment rates, all this kind of stuff. And it's different for every single race. So some races have, dark elves. Hey, we really like the cold, frozen north. Anything that's on the beach, we're like, no. So they're kind of like me. I think I found my kindred actually. Put me in a cold, frozen wasteland with no sun, and I'm happy.
You're a Druki.
You put me on the beach, and I die.
I have taken you to the beach before. I know this happens.
Yeah, it does happen, and I make hard choices on the beach. Do I save my shoes or do I save your child?
Well, you saved my child, and then you praise the sun.
I did. Hey, look. All right. Hey, why don't we have a trade agreement? So I get some money from that. They get some money from that, but I get the better end of the deal. So I'm gonna say, yeah, right on.
Heck yeah.
I'll trade. Let's get a trade going. Everybody wins.
All right.
Go in here. Let's see how.
Let's go garrison.
All right. So he's gonna.
Do I have to move to raid?
No, you can. You should just be able to stay put there. As long as you see an income above the unit's head, that means you're
Okay, perfect.
getting some money.
Let's see.
You also get slaves. Oh.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do.
I need to be raiding more.
Let's see. Let's build something there. And here.
It's kind of like I was saying before with the co-op thing is I can kind of take a look at Mike's structures, but this is the sort of the same view I'd have if I looked at anybody's. So it's disappointing that like in the co-op I can't get in closer on any of this stuff and be like, oh, let me see what he's building, or let me offer some suggestions or anything like that. Like, I understand that there's limitations to some degree as far as all that goes, because this is still like, more or less, this is like I mean, like, we just are two allied factions of the same race, right? Like within the
Pretty much.
context of the game, which we could totally also just do within multiplayer, like a separate multiplayer section if we were wanting to do Comp Stomp. We could set up the same way, and I would not be able to look at all this stuff. But still, it's kind of like, you know, if you're going to unit ally and all this kind of stuff, have it set up a little bit better so that he and I can kind of exchange notes, so to speak, a little bit more, so that we can help each other out. Alright, because that's what co-op's all about. Help each other out.
Sometimes.
What do you mean sometimes?
Other times you're shooting rockets continually into the back of your partner.
Sometimes that does happen, yes. What now? Alright, you're talking to me again. We just had a trade agreement. What now? You want a non-aggression pact? Man, you're way off.
You're not going to fight your trade partner, are you?
No. I mean, that'd be really messed up. Let's keep trading while I wage war. Oh, here come the beastmen. They're gonna come after me.
Diplomacy is so tedious.
And you want a peace treaty, and you're gonna offer me 1,500. Ooh.
That's a choice amount of scratch there.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to accept that for right now. And then probably the next time I see any member of the Stonehorn tribe, just say, hey, I'm breaking that and I'm gonna fight you now.
Yo, fight me.
Yo, thanks for the cash, but we're no longer friends.
So it looks like I need to spend one more turn in my city.
Cruel dreadlord.
Let's see. Alright, got some skill points to assign.
I will say the one thing I dislike about this game, it's such a small thing. I dislike that the Dark Elf Assassin heroes have the fucking skull mask thing on. Like, what is that? The skull mask
You know, they're...
kerchief.
You know... They're just really into late-stage capitalism.
I feel like that is so true. Oh, man. Alright. I got some upgrades I can do to Malekith here, who I am taking down the path of casting spells and improving this. Power of Darkness, why not? The one thing, too, that I should mention is, so you'll get these special gear quests. It's multi-stage, so I have to first capture 500 battle captives. There'll be something after that. And once I complete all the steps of that, I will get this Circlet of Iron unique item for Malekith. He's got one then, the Destroyer is a weapon that automatically begins at rank 10. And then he has this Supreme Spell Shield that automatically begins at rank 14. Each of the main big lords, so Malekith and Marathi for the Dark Elves, I forget the heroes and lords for the other armies, but basically all of them have special items like that. Just the generic ones that you recruit like Tomac or whatever, Tomalak, doesn't. No quest for them. Alright, really there ain't much I can do here. I'm just sort of recovering. I need to build that. And I also need to build that, but I can't do that just yet. I'm going to up my marble production, and that's it. The other new features they have here are these rites that you can perform. There's different things that unlock them, and then they all have cooldowns. These are like temporary boosts. So the one that I have here is if I knew I was about to get into some battles, I could use this rite to temporarily increase kind of my profits from that battle, more or less. This is the cooldown duration. This is how long it lasts. Alright, I think that's it for my turn. I think that's actually might be where we wrap up the stream as well. I really like Total War Warhammer. There were some things about the Grand Campaign that I was kind of like, it's just go around, beat up a bunch of people and chase them down, and then like build up your forces until chaos arrives and then beat down on chaos. I like that this has this specific goal in mind with these rituals that you're trying to build towards, and this then kind of makes it a little bit more of a race. Sure, you can wipe out factions, you can still go around the map and beat down on people if you want, but again, this map is huge and you cannot spread yourself out this much, so you're kind of a little bit more focused, right? Like you might go in and fight some high elves and go through this, you know, the different shifting aisles, and maybe wander down a little bit into this other part of the map, but really you're more focused on, let me get as many of those resources as I can and start building towards that ritual. Mike, you said this is the first one of these that you played, and thus far you've really dug it?
Yeah, I used to play a lot of strategy games, and I just kind of fell out of doing that. So they've gotten a little bit more heady since I last played, so I enjoy being able to just kind of chill with Jason and work through our campaign on this.
Talk about the glory days of our Warhammer. And yeah, I mean, so it is out now. Eventually, like I said, if you own Total War Warhammer, they will kind of merge that with this game, and they'll kind of have a bigger grand campaign that combines all the factions and everything from both games. When they do that, we'll probably do something else, you know, just have something up on the site. Maybe we'll even at that point do like a co-op FAQ to kind of run through everything for what that looks like. For right now, with all of this, this game, Total War Warhammer 2, you can just buy separately. It allows you to do a full co-op campaign with two people online, with both factions, or I should say both players controlling some lord of one faction. If you want to do a match where you are two different factions, so if Mike wanted to play as the High Elves and I played as the Dark Elves and we still wanted to work together, that's basically multiplayer at this point. You'd go into multiplayer and set up options that way, where you do like 2v2 or whatever it might be, and just do some comm stomping. So yeah, so that's Total War Warhammer 2, and we'll have a review for this sometime up on the site. I gotta figure out how much more of this game I need to kind of dive into, because there's a lot here, but check out that at some point. Check out all co-op coverage, of course, on cooptimus.com. And thanks, folks, for tuning in. We'll be back next Monday with something we haven't quite figured out yet what we want to do. But Friday, of course, is Falco with our community manager, Eric. He'll be playing some co-op games with his buddies, so you can always tune into that. Thanks, everyone. Be good. Stay safe out there. Have a good night.